I remember the first time they laughed at me. It was a crisp autumn afternoon, and I had just shown my family a battered, faded manuscript I'd spent months restoring. To them, I looked like a fool, an over-enthusiast chasing a dream that had no place in the real world. My father's voice cut through the air, sharp and dismissive. "You're wasting your time on these old papers. Who cares about some dusty, worthless relics? You're not serious." My brother snorted. "You'll never make a living off that junk. You're just embarrassing yourself. And us." My mother's eyes welled with tears, not out of pride, but frustration. "Why can't you get a real job? Art restoration? That's not a real career. It's a fantasy, and you're dragging us down with you." That scene burned in me like a branding iron. They saw a kid obsessed with the past, a foolish dreamer pretending to be an artist or historian. But I knew what they refused to see. I wasn't chasing illusions. I was fighting to save stories that might otherwise vanish forever, lost under layers of neglect and neglectful eyes. Their words battered my resolve, but beneath their mockery, something deep inside had already ignited. The refusal to accept their verdict became my fuel. After that day, I left my small town feeling hollow but determined. I threw myself into the obscure craft of manuscript preservation and restoration, the only avenue I knew that could truly make a difference. At first, it was a lonely, relentless pursuit. I scoured archives, learned ancient techniques, and poured every ounce of my soul into resurrecting fragile manuscripts. But it wasn't enough to just restore. I started forging, not to deceive, but to replicate lost pages, to fill gaps, to breathe life into faded histories. The world called it a criminal fad, a reckless gamble that would end in ruin. But I knew better. I believed history deserved a second chance, even if the world scoffed at my methods. Years passed. Slowly, the tide turned. My work, initially dismissed as questionable, began to speak for itself. Manuscripts I restored found their way into museums, universities, and private collections worldwide. Scholars praised my dedication. My name appeared in respected journals. I gained a reputation not just as a forger, but as a preserver of history, a guardian of truths buried beneath the sands of time. My reputation soared. I had proved the skeptics wrong, turned their cynicism into silent awe. I had become someone who could breathe life into aged, forgotten stories, and in doing so, I transformed barren landscapes of history into thriving ecosystems of knowledge. But nothing prepared me for what would happen when I returned to my hometown, to the land where doubts had once rooted deeply in their hearts. It had been 10 years since I'd left, and I was coming back not just as a successful scholar, but as a man who had reshaped the very way history was preserved. I had bought the crumbling estate where I grew up, turning its abandoned fields into lush orchards and vibrant gardens. My work had helped restore entire ecosystems. Barren land blossomed into orchards. Wildflowers carpeted the hills, and once desolate patches teemed with life. It was the embodiment of resilience, rebirth, and renewal, not just of history, but of the land itself. As I drove through the gate, I saw my family standing at the porch, faces lined with years of doubt and unspoken questions. They hadn't believed in me then, and I knew some still doubted. But I was here to show them what their disbelief had missed, what their mockery had failed to recognize. A man who refused to give up, who turned failure into triumph, and who fought to restore what was lost, whether in history or in the land. The day I unveiled my work was unforgettable. I gathered my family in the field I had cultivated, surrounded by orchards and wildflower meadows. I led them to a clearing where I'd carefully planted a small grove of ancient saplings, trees I had grafted from historic specimens, each one representing a century of stories I had rescued from oblivion. I told them this land was dead before I came. It was barren, forgotten, dismissed, like I once was. But I believed in its potential, just like I believed in my work. Now, look at it. Then, with a flourish, I revealed the restored manuscripts I had hidden beneath the soil, carefully preserved, flawlessly replicated, histories reborn. As I lifted the cover to reveal the ancient pages, the air shifted. My family's eyes widened in disbelief, a silent recognition of the truth they'd refused to see. One by one they approached, touching the fragile parchment, feeling the ink that had survived centuries, proof of my relentless pursuit, of the resurrection I had engineered. In that moment, silence fell, broken only by the rustling of leaves and the quiet breaths of awe. My father looked at me, no longer the stern critic, but a man stunned into realization. My brother's jaw tightened, but I saw respect flicker in his eyes. My mother, tears streaming down her face, whispered, "We were wrong." And in their faces, I saw not just regret, but a profound understanding. I had taken their doubts and turned them into a legacy, not just of history, but of perseverance, faith, and hope. I had become what I always knew I could be, a custodian of stories, a builder of worlds, a man who dared to believe that even the most broken things, with enough care and conviction, could be restored. That day, I learned a lesson that no mockery could ever erase: the power of unwavering belief in your purpose, the importance of holding on to your vision amid doubt, and the truth that, in the end, resilience and passion forge the greatest legacies. My family's ridicule was just a chapter in my story, a chapter I turned into a testament of redemption. And as I watched them finally see what I had become, I felt a quiet warmth, knowing I'd proven not just to them, but to myself, that no dream is too ridiculous, no failure too final, because in the end, I had forged a legacy that no one could ever take away, and that was worth more than any critique or doubt. I was finally home, not just in place, but in purpose, and that, to me,